Hey guys, it's Lisa. Today we're going to make some Christmas trees out of scrap wood. And so these are some of the pieces of scrap wood. A lot of these are fencing boards, and a lot are just other pieces of wood that I've gotten given to me. The green one there is an old piece of wood that someone brought me, and I just love the finish on that, so that's a finish that I'm going to leave. So this one, I took two pieces that I cut off of other boards and put them together as one, and now I'm going to attach it with a little piece of, I think this might be a piece of a tongue depressor, I'm not sure what, but just a thin piece of wood that you can glue together and attach these. And it's also a good idea if you put some glue down the seam as well. But you really just want some sort of an angle. What I do is I usually take a piece of fencing board and I make it the height that I want it, and then I mark the center of it and then draw a line from the center of the top to both of the outer edges to make my Christmas tree. And again, these are what was cut off from doing that. But any kind of scrap wood will do. You could even use 2x4s. These are not, but you could use 2x4s. Now this is a technique that I learned, and what I did is I just stenciled something on here. Actually, the one on the right was a stencil that I traced, and the one on the left is just something that I free-handed with a pencil. But I'm taking some hot glue here and just tracing over that. Now this doesn't have to be perfect, and mine is by no means perfect, but it's just something to give it some sort of design. And honestly, I think the one that I free-handed turned out better than the one that I traced. So using a stencil is probably not even necessary. But you just want to put the glue on here, and you don't want it so thin that it doesn't have any or much raised design on it, because this is something that's going to be covered up, and you want to be able to see that the dimension. And again, as you can see here, it was just as easy, and I think looks just as good to just do it by hand and not worry about tracing anything out, or actually not worry about using a stencil. And if you felt comfortable, you wouldn't even have to use a pencil and trace, because I didn't stay exactly with the lines anyway. Now here I decided in some of the open places to just add a little dot of glue to add a little bit more dimension. Now this may not look like it, but it's a really cool technique that I found on Pinterest. Now I've seen this done and then painted over, and that just kind of adds some dimension, and that looks good also. But this technique is so cool. So what you do is you put this, the glue on, and then you let it dry really well. You make sure that it's really good and hard, and then you take a piece of aluminum foil, and you want the thin kind, and then you just glue it on. And I'm using wood glue here, but I guess you could use a number of glues. I just felt like it needed a good strong glue, and I wanted to make sure that I got the glue around the edges really well. And then I just pressed everything and smoothed it out, and that makes it look like you've got the kind of metal that you would use for punched metal, or I know you've seen wall hangings with this. And you just I took a piece of sandpaper and sanded around the edges, because again it is the thin, and then I can put any kind of finish on this that I want. A lot of you have probably already seen this and aren't very impressed with it, but I hadn't, and I was impressed and wanted to give this a try. Now I got a variety of bases out because I've seen this done with different items on the bottom, and I ended up, I'm going to use some of these posts. I wanted to use this insulator here but I decided I couldn't figure out a way to make it work. I thought I had saw one at one time on Pinterest, but I'm not sure how they made that work. Now this is one of the 2-piece trees that I made, so I want to use this post on this. So what I decided to do here was to trace, put this in the middle of that post and trace around it so that I know how wide I need to kind of chisel that out. So I took it outside and just nicked it with the saw on both sides and chiseled that out, and now I'll be able to glue that flat. And so I'm just going to put quite a bit of the Type Bond Thick and Quick on it, and then also add some hot glue so that I'll have some immediate hold as well. So I do that with all of these that I use this type of bottom on. But then some of them I'm just going to cut a flat piece of wood to go all the way across the bottom, and that will make a very easy base. And that's what I've done on this one. And I could actually go back and add some brad nails to this one as well. This is the very easiest bottom, and it holds really well, or it stands up really well. I've made many of these in the past, so if you don't have some other base to put them on, this definitely works well. So I just glue all of these together, and then I'm going to give them all one coat of just a dark brown. I think I used coffee bean. That's a Dixie Belle dark brown, but just any dark brown will do. And the reason I'm doing that is because I wanted a really dark base so that since most of these will get distressed, I wanted a dark color to distress down to, and this light wood just wouldn't show up at all. But with the one that was on the white piece of bedpost, I just left it because it already had a distressed look to it. So I painted the tree part only and then left the base the original color. So some of these I'm going to paint in the color Drop Cloth. I thought I would give you guys a break from the color Buttercream, and I used to use drop cloth a lot, so I just thought I would go back to the drop cloth for today. And I'm going to paint that on here. It's a little bit darker than the Buttercream, but I still really like the color of this. So I'm putting one coat on this. This is one that's going to get distressed. And some of them I'll do it with a crackle finish and just give these all different finishes, because that's going to be one of the neat things about this is just to have these little trees in all different sizes and thicknesses and finishes. I want to thank all of you who went to my sister's channel and watched her videos, and some of you even subscribed. And I just want you to know how grateful I am for that. It's really tough when you first start a channel to get numbers that you can really do anything with. So I really, really appreciate you guys doing that. And I've been able to count on you guys to support many of my friends. And I love to see more craft videos, and I love to see people doing what they love to do on YouTube, because I don't know about you guys, but TV is just, it's hard to find anything on TV for me worth watching. And if we can watch YouTube and learn and grow from it, I just love to see people doing that. So I really, really appreciate y'all supporting her. So I'm getting to work at the front desk a little bit today, because I went into the shop when we were closed and decided to do some of my crafting there. So that's the reason for the different background here. And this one I'm using a stencil on and just kind of taking it across in different areas. And then I will also stencil joy, peace, and love on it. And I'm just using some green ink here instead of my usual black. Now these little brushes, I get asked about these all the time, and they come in all different sizes. You can get them 1 to a pack at the Dollar Tree in the makeup section. But you can also get them several to a pack on Amazon at a really good price. I think it actually ends up being even cheaper. So I will try to remember and attach that link in the description. But these are just awesome for stenciling. Now I didn't want the black on this. I just felt like it was too dark, so I'm just using a gray ink here. And then once I get this stenciled on, I will heavily distress this so that a lot of that dark will come through. So this one's going to be kind of simple, and that's the great thing about these trees is you can use scrap wood, and it doesn't take very much at all. You can use almost any kind of wood and just give these all different kinds of looks, but you can also make different sizes. You can make some of these wider. You can put even a tree trunk on some of these and maybe put it in a container. I don't think I do that on any of these though. And then of course when I'm finished with this one, I will seal it with a clear finish, and you can use any kind of clear finish you want. I'm just using the Dixie Belle satin finish. Now one of these that I use the aluminum foil method on, I'm painting with the bronze patina paint. And then once this dries, I'll put a second coat on it and then spray it with the patina spray. And I think I just used the blue on this. And I went ahead and painted the bottom with that metal finish also, because I just felt like that wood would look bad against that. Since I didn't just stain it, since I painted the base on this one, I felt like I needed to go ahead and paint the bronze all over it. I got some beautiful Christmas hang tags in the mail, and a couple of them are from Kathleen, who lives on an island in Virginia. And then one hang tag comes from Karen from Oregon. So I'll be showing those at the end of this video. Now here I've sprayed this with the patina spray and then just let that dry. And then I just added a rusty star to the top of this one. And I just glued that on with some Type Bond glue and a little bit of wood glue. Now this is one that I pieced the two ends from and made a wider tree. And then I just took a little hinge that I spray painted black, and then I went over it with some clear glue and some cinnamon to make it look rusty. And I'm just going to screw this on, and it connects the two boards, but it's more about the look. It's not about the security. I already have the boards on the back that I've glued in place, so this is just for the look. And my screws were just a tad bit long, so I'll have to grind those off on the back. But now I'm going to do some stenciling. And I had a large Christmas stencil that I wanted to, some of the words that were on, and it's just different kinds of Christmas trees. So that's what I'm going to stencil on, just parts of it on the front of this. Here I'm adding a little bit of clear glue over those screws because the screws are black, but I want them to look rusty also, so I'm going to add some cinnamon here as well. And then I had a large Christmas stencil, and I'll try to find that and add that in the description, but I used some of the words that were on it, some names of Christmas trees, and stenciled those on there. And then I added a rusty star to the top. Now the color that I used on this, I don't think I mentioned, is mint julep. And I like this because it's really close to the old buttermilk green, which I really like. but it's a little bit sharper color than I would like for it to be. So on the trees that I use this on, I'm going to use some of the Dyke Brown glaze from Dixie Belle and rub it over the top. I just brush it over the top and wipe it off to tone that down and give it more of an aged look. And I did some heavy distressing on this, so because of that I sanded down to the wood in places and even past the dark that I put over the top of it, and so I needed to make that wood darker anyway. Now you could use brown wax here, but I'm just not much of a fan of the color that you get from most brown waxes. I just don't think it's a warm enough brown, and I just like the kind of honey tone of this, and that's why I decided to use this instead of brown wax. Now most of these I painted on the back as well. Actually, all of them I painted on the back as well. Some of them I did some of the decor on the back. This is not one of them, and the reason is because I put those little boards on the back to attach it together, so the back is not going to look decorative anyway. So this needs to be one that you'll display on the mantle or a piece of furniture or something, not something that you would want to use as a centerpiece on a table. But the ones that I could do front and back so that it could be used that way, I did. But I did go ahead and add the brown glaze to the back of this one. And this is what this one looked like finished. These little trees are fun to make because you can do all different variations of them. This one is one that I did that finish with the where I glued the aluminum foil to the front, and I painted this one in the color drop cloth, and now I'm going over this one with the brown glaze as well. Now this is one that I took my drill and just kind of burrowed a little hole in the bottom of this, not very deep, just deep enough that I could glue it over the top of this silver plate salt shaker. And I thought that made a unique stem for this one, and I actually did another one using the other piece to that set. But again, I'm going over this with the brown glaze, and then I added this little star, and this is some stars that I got, and I think I ordered these from Amazon, and they're different sizes. Actually, I don't think I did get these from Amazon. I think these were gifted to me, so but I will try to look some up. But on this one, because it's already gold, I don't like the sharp gold that it is, so I just take some of my gold gilding wax, and it's more toned down, so I just went over that to tone down some of that shiny gold. And then while I was doing that, I went ahead and added some to the salt shaker. And what I did was I just rubbed it around the high spots on the salt shaker, and there was actually like a raised trim area, and that was a good place to add the gold. So the silver and gold just kind of went together. And I don't know how many of you guys have heard, but when you look up the colors that are trending this year for Christmas, it is gold and champagne colors, so this will go well with that decor. And I also just rubbed some of this over some of those high spots to bring out some more of that design in the front, and then concentrated a little more around the edges as well. Now, I'm not doing any in this one, but what you could do is cut your tree from a 2x4 or a 2x6 or even a 2x8, and then you wouldn't have to have a stand to put it on because it would stand well on its own. I'm going to be making some of those, but not in this video. But I like, when I make these trees, I like to display them, just a whole lot of them set up together and just kind of make it look like a forest of trees. And I love displaying all the different styles together. And here I'm adding that Dyke Brown glaze to this one as well. And then I glued a rusty star to the top of this one. And then I did another one just like this, but instead of putting that wood base on it, I just kind of routed out a little place on the bottom of this one and glued it over the other mate to that salt shaker. Now this is one that I put on one of those little pieces of bedpost, and I attached it just like I did the first one by hollowing out a little place there at the top of the post and gluing that on. And now I'm adding a rusty star to the top of this one. Now this one I did the crackle finish on. I first painted all of them the dark brown, and then I used Dixie Belle crackle medium on it and let that dry, and then went over it with the drop cloth, and that gave me a crackle finish. And then I've just glued this star on this one, and then I went over this with the drop cloth and just kind of dry brushed drop cloth over the front of this, or over the star. And I also, before I added the star, I forgot to mention, I used one of my stencils and some joint compound, and added some dimension to the front of this just by rubbing some of that joint compound over the stencil, and it creates a raised stencil that is not very evident, but it just adds a lot of character, and I really like the look of it. And it's very simple to do, and as you can see, it just has such a dainty, pretty look to it. And I did that on one of the smaller trees as well. But as you can see, it's very easy to create an assortment of trees, and I'm not being very precise here with these stencils, and you don't have to be when you're using this method. I just think that it just adds so much depth of character. And I've even done this technique on a piece of furniture and added some detail to the drawers. Now this is one that my sister did, and she just glued it to the top of one of those posts and went around it with some rusty wire, and I thought that one was so cute. But I just kind of created an assortment here, and I'm going to display this assortment together because I'm keeping my colors coordinated. And I think that although they're all different kinds, they just go so well together when you display several of these together like this. And now I'm going to show some of the viewers' beautiful hang tags. And this one is from Kathleen. And she added battery operated lights to this one, and I thought that was such a creative idea. And I love that the scripture on the bottom, all things were created by him. And then this is the back, praying God's blessings will continue to reveal themselves in your life. And I think this one is just so meaningful and so beautiful. And again, these lights just added so much to this. Now this is another one that she made, and I just think this one is so dainty and beautiful, and something that I've not seen before. I just think it's so pretty and creative. And then she sent this cross that an elderly man had made, and she said it was made from phone poles. So I thought that was neat. Now this one is from Karen, and I love this paper that Karen used, and I love the little button area there on the bottom. I think that was such a neat display of buttons, and the lace here on top. This one is very pretty, and this is a larger hang tag, and of course I love the Christmas star. Thank you so much, Karen and Kathleen, for your beautiful hang tags. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.